Hello, my name is Bill O'Donnell. I'm the Norfolk County Register of Deeds, and I want to thank Norfolk Community Television for the invitation to speak here today. And the Registry of Deeds is an arm of government that dates back here in Norfolk County to 1793. The registry's been located in Dedham since 1793, and it's located at 649 High Street in Dedham. To the residents of Norfolk, the community of Norfolk is part of Norfolk County. The 28 communities that make up Norfolk County have their land records recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And I'm the 11th Register of Deeds. I grew up in Norwood, and I look at the mission of the registry is probably the same as it was in 1793. It's to make sure that the records are recorded accurately, that they can be relied on by the communities, they can be relied on by attorneys who are making judgments when you buy your house here in Norfolk. But it's delivered a little bit differently. We've modernized the Registry of Deeds. So someone might say, well, it's an arm of government, I don't know about the Registry of Deeds, but when you think about it, the biggest asset you have is your home. And certainly you're welcome to learn about aspects of your home by coming to the registry at 649 High Street in Dedham. It's across from the Gold Dome, Norfolk Superior Court. Or you can go on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org. There's information for first-time home buyers, anyone that may be struggling with foreclosure. There's information about foreclosure assistance, nonprofit groups that are out there to give you guidance. I was asked by Norfolk Community Television to speak about some of the consumer issues. One consumer issue is the Homestead Act. The Homestead is written by statute. Chapter 188 allows someone that owns property as their principal residence. So if you own a home or a condominium here in Norfolk and it's your principal residence, you have a right to declare an estate of homestead. And there's been a number of changes since I've become register to the Homestead Act, but it gives the consumer certain protections. Now, by training, by my background, as I mentioned, I grew up in Norwood. I went to Xaverian Brothers High School, Georgetown University, Boston College Law School. After law school, I worked as an assistant district attorney here in Norfolk County, but I also later went into the private sector where I represented buyers, represented sellers, represented the parties when closings took place. And one of the issues that would come up when you buy a house is, should I put a homestead on? And, you know, as an attorney, I mean, sometimes attorneys, you talk to 10 different attorneys, you get 10 different opinions. But I would say 9.9 attorneys out of 10 would say you should declare an estate of homestead and get it recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The filing fee is relatively minor. That's set by the state legislature at $35. And it's a relatively, it's not a big document, it's a 1 or 2 page document where if, now again, I live in Norwood with my spouse, the law says that my spouse and I have to declare the homestead, and we have to do it in front of a notary public. And all you have to do is get the title reference to your home. And what protections does it give? Well, you know, it doesn't give you protections if you don't pay your taxes here in the town of Norfolk. They can take your property by tax title. If you've borrowed money with a mortgage, you can have that property foreclosed on. But it does give you certain protections where if you have an estate of homestead declared and it's written at the registry and recorded at the registry, it sort of puts a picket fence around your home. They cannot force the sale of your home for certain debts. The best example I can give is most people drive, and you might think you have a lot of insurance on your car, but you hit someone in the crosswalk and the person has significant damages, maybe $500,000 worth of damages. It's a significant case, and you only had $100,000 worth of insurance. Well, the advocate for that injured party is going to try to collect from you. But if you have a homestead recorded, it puts a picket fence around your property. They're still going to chase you for that money, but they can't force the sale of your home. There are other benefits to having a homestead. For instance, if you go to sell your home, if you have a declared written homestead at the Registry of Deeds, the proceeds from that sale are protected for 1 year. If you unfortunately had your house burned down and the insurance company gave you proceeds, a proceeds check, a check to build your house up, creditors, if you have a written homestead, cannot swoop in and go after that money, again, for a limited period of time of 2 years. So there's all kinds of protections with the homestead law. The legislature defines elderly as 62 and above, so you can declare an elderly homestead. And I also tell people, if you're lucky enough at the age of 18 years old to own a piece of property, a house or a condo as your principal residence, as an 18-year-old, you have a right to declare an estate of homestead. So it's important. It's an important protection for consumers. Norfolk Community Television asked to talk about other consumer issues. One of the big consumer issues we see out there are scams. And it's all across the country, and all you have to do is turn on the TV and see advertisements. At the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, we were the first registry in Massachusetts to have a consumer notification service. I've signed up myself. If we get notices, any William O'Donnell document that comes through the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, I get an email notice, and I can check on. I look at the notice, and it may be William J. O'Donnell, or it might be William P. O'Donnell, but it's from Quincy. I'm from Norfolk. And there's going to be a time where I look, or my spouse looks, and we say, wait a minute, I did not sign that mortgage, or I did not sign that equity line, or wait a minute, that's a deed to my residence, but I didn't sign it. Again, the Consumer Notification Service at the Registry of Deeds doesn't prevent the fraud, but it allows the consumer like yourself to get on things right away. And again, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, says the fastest growing white-collar crime is property and deed fraud. So again, we see it in other parts of the country, in California, in Chicago, in Philadelphia. So it's only, I have not seen it as prevalent in Massachusetts. But again, the Consumer Notification Service is a way for consumers to protect their property. Now, I mentioned you get an email notice. You know, we've modernized the Registry of Deeds. We've put computers in. If you want to go on our website, you go to www.norfolkdeeds.org, and we have over 13 million land record documents that are in our Internet Land Record Library. So you can do online research. Our primary focus was to bring the registry into people's homes and businesses. So if you go on our website, you can look up deeds back to 1793. You can do research on your own property. But with all this emphasis on the computer, please understand we have a customer service center. My dad climbed poles for the Boston Edison for 38 years, and he said, you know, all that modernization, remember, some of us don't know anything about computers, they don't care to know anything about computers. We created a customer service center at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. The telephone number is 781-461-6101. And you can call, and if you sign up for the Consumer Notification Service and you get an email, you can call our customer service center and they can help walk you through things like that. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to call up the customer service center. One question we get a lot is, we have office hours around the county. We've gone to community groups, whether they're retirees, or at the senior centers, or at the Rotaries, or at the Lions clubs. We bring our computers, and one of the big questions we get from people is, my mortgage, has it been discharged? And especially at office hours, when you borrow money, the bank, in order to make sure that you pay off that mortgage, records a mortgage at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. That mortgage tells the world you owe money. And a lot of times when people have paid off mortgages, either they've, I have 3 children, sometimes you have to borrow money because they're in college, sometimes you're trying to get a lower interest rate. You want to make sure when you pay off a mortgage that a mortgage discharge gets recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The mortgage discharge for all you homeowners is a 1- or 2-page document that tells the world that that mortgage has been paid off. And it's very important to have, because at office hours and at our customer service center at the Registry of Deeds, we have people come in and they say, I'm trying to sell my house, or I'm trying to refinance, and the lawyer involved says I have to get a discharge. I paid that mortgage off 20 years ago. Well, you may have paid the mortgage off, you may have paid the bank off, but somehow the discharge did not get to the Registry of Deeds. Now, there's been changes in the law, and that's been good for the consumers, because sometimes, especially the bigger banks, didn't get the discharges to the registry. Or we're finding out that they may have sent it out to the consumer, but didn't make clear to the consumer that that discharge has to get recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So when you pay off your mortgage, please make sure that the mortgage discharge gets recorded at the Registry of Deeds. Some of you may say, well, how can I check? You can go on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, and check to see if your mortgages have been discharged, or you can call up our customer service center. Now, if you are one of those people like we have at office hours around the county, where someone says, I need a discharge, how do I get it? If you go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, we have a section, where has my bank gone? And the reason we have that section is because a lot of banks have merged. A lot of banks you might have borrowed from have different names. Some banks, people forget, in the 1990s went out of business. So on our website, we have state and federal contact information where you can track down where your bank was. Again, if it's a local community bank, you have great local community banks here in Norfolk and Norfolk County. If you need a discharge, you can go to those community banks and say, look, I paid that mortgage off, I paid that equity line off, I need to get a discharge. They'll look it up. Chances are the offices that are going to sign the discharge are in the building, and they will give you the discharge. Just make sure it gets down to the Registry of Deeds and gets recorded. But the trouble is, some of the banks, especially the bigger banks, their customer service or just trying to get to the right person to get the discharge is a little more difficult. So on our website, with that information, where has my bank gone, it's really for these banks that are no longer in existence or they've been merged. I'm from Norwood. I remembered, I had my paper route money in the Norwood Cooperative Bank as well as the Union Warren Savings Bank. Well, the Union Warren Savings Bank, I think now, may be Citizens Bank. But if you found a situation where you're like, I need to get a discharge from Union Warren, you can go on our website and get that contact information so that you can track down where your bank has gone. And I do believe Union Warren, I don't bet the farm on it, is Citizens Bank. But again, these resources allow you to protect yourself as a consumer. You just want a discharge that tells the world that that mortgage has been paid off. So that's a fairly important consumer issue. I did mention the Consumer Notification Service, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention other scams that are going on. There's a group out there, they solicit, especially the elderly, that they will get you a Homestead form for $10. Do not pay money for a Homestead form. You can get a Homestead form by calling the Norfolk Registry of Deeds or going on our website. We have the Homestead forms, and you can get them. Do not be paying anybody to get a Homestead form sent to you. Also, there are groups out there, it's kind of evolved. There's one group that solicits consumers, and for $59, they'll get you a certified copy of your deed. Now, when we're at office hours, we certify for free, but don't pay that group $59 to get a certified copy of your deed. And again, it's nice to have a certified copy of your deed, but when you go to sell your house, the real estate professionals that are involved in that sale, whether they're the brokers or the closing attorneys, would look up the information and locate your deed. But if you do want a certified copy of your deed, come to the Registry of Deeds. Don't pay a group $59 to get a certified copy of your deed. And there are other forms of that scam. There's a group out there from anywhere from $86 to recently up to $112. They send what looks like a property tax bill. And in the small fine print, they say it's a solicitation, which allows them to do this legally. But people, they want people to pay them $86 or $112 to go get a copy of a deed. Please don't fall for that scam. We've reported these scams to the Attorney General's office and to the Secretary of State's office. They have put consumer alerts out. I recognize that it may be legal because, again, it says it's a solicitation that you can hardly read, but I do find it's unconscionable. I do find that it shouldn't be done, and the best way to get even is to come on groups or to come on community media like Norfolk Community Media and spread the word. And I want to continue to do it because Hank Phillip B. Ryan did a show on this, a piece on this, and came to the registry. And despite Hank Phillip B. Ryan and her show, and I know the Boston Herald did an article on this. WBZ Radio did a piece on these scams where they solicit consumers like yourself to get copies of deeds. It's still happening. So the best way to get even is to spread the word so people, if you do want a copy of your deed, there are other ways to get it besides paying anywhere from $59 to $112 to get that deed. You know, I'm very privileged to be Register of Deeds. I have tried to combine government service. I was an assistant district attorney here in Norfolk County when I was in college. For 3 years, I worked for Congressman Joe Moakley, and you learn about what government does. And probably like many of you, in Norwood, they have representative town meeting. I was a town meeting member, and I got elected locally. So you learn what government does well. You learn how you want to provide customer service, and that's what we've tried to do at the Registry of Deeds. But I've also been in the private sector, and as a lawyer, let's face it, hundreds of thousands of documents get recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The registry deals with probably the biggest asset you have is your home. And those records at the Registry of Deeds involve the title to your property. So we've taken steps to protect those documents. When I got there, we tried to apply private sector thinking with disaster recovery disaster recovery and business continuity planning. It didn't happen overnight, but all the records are protected. By law, we have to microfilm, and they get stored at off-site at a couple of different sites in Rhode Island and in Massachusetts. But we also do tape drive backups daily to make sure that your records that are recorded at the Registry of Deeds are protected. And these records are important. We have a relationship. The Norfolk Registry of Deeds sends these records to your town's assessing departments. We're involved with money collections by law. The state tells us what monies we have to collect. There is a Community Preservation Act, and the Community Preservation Act was passed here in Massachusetts. Towns in Norfolk County have adopted the Community Preservation Act. So that money that gets collected on every document that gets recorded at the Registry of Deeds gets sent to the Department of Revenue here in Massachusetts, and then the local communities apply and put together projects. And the Community Preservation Act projects could be for housing, they could be for open space and recreation, they could be for historic preservation, and they put together projects and they tried to leverage the adoption monies that they have within the town with the monies that get collected at the registry and sent to the Department of Revenue and sent to the state. So again, the registry is an arm of government that many people don't know about, but you know, it's a busy place. The Norfolk Registry of Deeds is the second busiest registry in Massachusetts. It's an important place in the sense that revenues get collected. Up to $54 million were collected in one fiscal year. 1 year it was $81 million. And most of that money goes to the state, but you have to account for it, and we pride ourselves. But that money comes back to the communities, whether it's in local aid, whether it's in public safety, whether it's in education, whether it's in social service programs, or whether it's Community Preservation Act projects. We've also tried to make the records, again, relevant to people. There's more and more historical and genealogical research taking place. At the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, we had a History Comes Alive project where we transcribed over 450,000 documents that were recorded from 1793 to 1900. We were the first registry in New England to do that. And how it works is here you could see this is the first document. It's from Foxborough. It's handwritten. It's cursive, and then we transcribed it. And again, it was a part of our History Comes Alive project. In this particular case, David McCulloch, who recently passed away, but he's an American historian and author, actually wrote how great it was, given his history of going through all kinds of records, that it was transcribed. And again, these records go back to 1793, and more people are doing historical and genealogical research, but it allowed us to do certain projects. For instance, the 225th anniversary, there are 4 presidents born in Norfolk County, but we did a piece on every town. And in Norfolk, Dr. Helen Cleary, we found a deed. She was a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Reserve. She was the first woman to the Norfolk Board of Selectmen. So again, these books, we've done a couple of these out of the History Comes Alive project, some historical records, historical landmarks, historical people, and present-day people, from Allie Raisman, who lived in Needham, to Sunita Williams, who was a NASA astronaut who actually is currently up in space as we speak. One book we're very proud of, it recently came out in November, again out of this History Comes Alive project. We did a book, and if you want one, please contact the registry or contact me at register.o'donnell@norfolkdeeds.org. We remember our veterans, and again, in the communities, we recognize the veteran. We have deeds, and sometimes some of these people weren't lucky enough to have a deed to the person. It might be to their parents because they gave their life for our country. And one of the persons, a fabulous story, and you know it here in Norfolk because the school's named after him, Sergeant Adam Kennedy. I went to Xaverian before he did, that's for sure, but he's a Xaverian Brothers High School graduate, and just a tremendous story, gave his life for this country. So we try to do things like that with the documents at the registry. Yes, it's about the title to people's homes. It's about the Board of Appeals here, documents getting recorded if there's a Board of Appeals decision or a Conservation Commission decision here in Norfolk, that we make sure it gets recorded at the registry, that we record the documents accurately. But we've also tried to make our resources open to you, and that's why it's just great to be on Norfolk Community Television, to just let you know a little bit about the registry. And if you need any information, you're welcome to come to 649 High Street. We have a bank of 50 computers that you can use. It's open to the public. We have a section for history and genealogical research where we have it tied into Ancestry.com and other resources for people that want to do that type of research. If you have any questions, you can call our customer service center or drop by and visit them at 649 High Street, or call them at 781-461-6101. Again, my name's Bill O'Donnell. It's a privilege to be the Norfolk County Register of Deeds. If you need to get a hold of me, please feel free to email me at registerodonnell@norfolkdeeds.org. I'd like to thank Norfolk Community Television and you, the viewers, for the opportunity to let me speak here tonight.